Welcome everybody to Survive and Advance on the Gruely True Sports Network. Survive and Advance is brought to you by MyBookie.ag to get up to 100% deposit on your first deposit. Up to $300. Go check out MyBookie.ag. Use the promo code TGT100, or you can go to thegruelingtruth.com. Click on the banner at the top of the page. I am your co-host for Survive and Advance, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my other co-host, 1981 national champion, Steve Risley. How you doing, Steve?
Doing good today. Looking forward to today's show. Ought to be fun.
All right. And
Lot to choose from.
There is. I don't know. Do you think there was more choke jobs or more clutch plays?
More clutch plays, by far.
All right. And we have, as a guest today, the hockey beat writer for the Grueling Truth, Sam McGinnis. How you doing, Sam?
I'm doing pretty good.
Just pretty good?
Just pretty good.
Just pretty good. All right. Is it 75 and sunny where you're at?
No, it is raining.
I know. It's not raining here, but it's cold. Is it at least sunny and 75 in California, Steve?
No, actually, believe it or not, it's in the 50s and raining. We're expecting thunderstorms this afternoon, and I'm excited about it because we just don't get thunderstorms very often out here, and it's kind of fun when you get one.
Okay. I guess it's
unlike
where
you, which
live.
gets them every day. Yeah.
Yeah, we get them every day at least for 10 minutes.
Yeah, I know.
And we get about everything this time of year except for snow, which you never know. All right, our show today, the top 10 clutch performances by an individual in sports history. When we look at this, Steve, the list is huge again. And I know you said that there was. I don't know if there's more choke jobs or clutch plays, but I tend to agree with you. I think it's more clutch plays.
Yeah, and I think that's what's great about sport is, disasters happen, but great moments. In researching this, I literally have 6 pages of probably 50 different clutch plays to choose from. I know we're all going to have our favorite sports. I would guess from Sam, we're going to get a lot of hockey, probably a lot of baseball from you, and I'm probably going to be a lot of golf and basketball, in kind of where it goes. But when you go back and see, there are some just incredibly great plays that have happened over the period of time. And, it was really, when we were talking to Lucas yesterday post-show, it's like, do we want to focus on teams or individual plays? And I think, you put it out last night, let's just do individual plays. Because you start talking about things like that eliminates the miracle on ice. So that was a clutch performance for the entire Olympics. But that's not really what we're looking for. We're looking for that one shining moment, so to speak, where great occurrences happen and they define a culture, they define a game, they leave a mark, whether the team won or not. But it was that one clutch play that set things up. And I don't think I can even get 10's going to be just biting the nail to just try and stay at 10.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what I did is number 10. I think you just put every John Elway and Joe Montana moment together. Sam,
can you? Although I think some of the Joe Montana moments would be above 10.
Sam, so as a Detroit sports fan, is it safe to say there's nothing from your team in this?
The Red Wings, yes. Everybody else, no.
There's nothing from the Red Wings that was a clutch moment, was there?
Yeah, there was.
Oh,
you got
whatever.
Steve Yzerman, for instance. You got that double OT goal from the point. Like, that was big-time clutch.
Yeah. All right, Sam. I guess I'm going to have to put up with hockey and golf today with you two morons. All right, let's go ahead. And let's start off at number 10, Sam.
Now, I'm just going to preface mine. I didn't rank mine from 1 to 10. I just picked 10.
Well, you've been given the assignment to rank them from 1 to 10, and I'd hate to have to drop you a grade or two from not following the script here.
Well, that's okay. I'll take a B- in this class, but I just picked 10, and they all can fall anywhere because we're all going to feel differently about different sports. What I think might be number 8, you may think be number 3, which, and vice versa. So I just got 10 great clutch performances I think happened in sports that I remember, and there's going to be 1,000 of them I missed.
Hey, Sam, do you think that's Steve taking the easy way out here?
A little, yeah.
Okay. Go ahead. Steve, what's your number 10? Not necessarily number 10, but it is one of your top 10.
All right. One of my top 10s was Kerry Sturgis' vault in the 1996 Olympics. You know,
her name's Strug, by the way. But okay.
Carrie Struggs, okay. But she had, I think, have actually fractured her left ankle. And for the team to retain the team gold medal, she had to score almost a perfect score. And she basically had a severely injured ankle if it wasn't broken or cracked. But she popped in a 9.71 on the vault, which was enough points for the U.S. women's gymnastics team to win the gold medal overall in the 1996 Atlanta Summer Olympics. I thought that was an incredible clutch moment. It embodies what clutch performances were. She rose to the occasion. She knew that she had to do something special for her team, and she did it under adverse situation, and it made a difference in the outcome of that team winning gold medal.
All right. Steve went gymnastics at number 10. What are you doing, Sam?
I have Tracy Porter's interception of Peyton Manning in the Super Bowl. Play that ended it, won it for the Saints essentially. That was really clutch, especially to intercept a quarterback of that stature with that much pressure on you. And that last drive, you started driving him down. To have that kind of clutch moment was pretty impressive, I thought.
Well, is that more of a clutch moment for Tracy Porter or a choke job by Peyton Manning?
I think it was more of a clutch moment, actually.
All right. Steve, I know you loved that moment.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, we know.
I loved
Manning
it. I thought it was awesome.
I know. I figure I'm not going to be negative or positive about it. I mean, it was, definitely a great moment for the defensive back and a bad moment for Peyton Manning. But Manning went on to have many other great moments throughout his career as a player, not as a human being.
Well, he didn't have that many great moments in his career either that were done by him. My number 10, I will go John Elway's drive against the Cleveland Browns. I think it's one of the greatest drives in NFL history. 98 yards, 5 minutes. I think they converted like 3 3rd and 10 or more. I think there was even a 3rd and 20 there early in the drive. And then he comes into overtime and makes a great throw to Mark Jackson, to get into field goal range. And then Rich Carlos, the barefooted kicker. Why don't we see barefoot kickers anymore, Steve? Do you think people have just evolved and gotten smarter?
That's a good question. I don't know why we don't. We don't see block kickers anymore either, like Tom Dempsey, because I actually had Dempsey in his great clutch kick, the first 60-yarder ever kicked in the NFL, with his block foot for the New Orleans Saints. But that was a fringe one. So, yeah.
But that's my number 10. Actually, I would probably lump the catch in Joe Montana in Super Bowl 23, because the one thing to me is my top 10 is predominantly one single person making one outstanding play, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. No, that's kind of how mine is, too.
So, I mean, my 10 would be like the Elway drive, Super Bowl 23, which was an atrocious thing that ever happened to the Cincinnati Bengals, and then the catch by Dwight Clark in the 1981 NFC Championship game. Let's go ahead to number 9, Steve.
I'm just going to go ahead and throw out the 98-yard drive. I had that in my top 10. I had a little higher, or was going to come later on in the thing, but I think that was an incredible drive, and I think that personified John Elway and the grit, determination that made John Elway's persona being the winner that he is. So everything that you said, I had it in my top 10. Like I said, I didn't really worry about where I ranked anything, but I'll just use that as my number 9 then, because I had it in there as well.
So how about this? What is the bigger drive? And I'll give you both a shot at this. Is it the 98-yard drive to tie the game, or is it Montana's drive in Super Bowl 23?
I think Montana's drive, just because it's for a Super Bowl, would be the only reason. Although
that would be mine.
Yeah, the only thing that separates them is just the fact that it was for a Super Bowl versus for a divisional playoff game, and that's the only thing. I can't take away, and none of us can take away from the effort put forth by either quarterback. But when you're doing it for a Super Bowl, it carries a little more clout in my eyes. Maybe not in yours, Mike, but in mine, I would say Montana's Super Bowl drive, because it's for all the marbles.
Oh, I think it is.
And the
thing that really stands out to me about both of those drives is, if you look at it, it was 13-10. Denver was down when Elway leads the drive, or 10-3, whatever the hell it was. But the final score was like 20-17. So it's not like they were scoring a lot of points. And the same thing with Montana, because that game is 16-13 when he takes the ball over. They'd only scored one touchdown that day against that Bengals defense. So the thing that makes it really impressive to me is the fact that both teams were being shut down by those defenses too, and then they still come up with the clutch play. Sam, number 9?
Mine was actually John Elway's drive, so I think we covered that.
All right, now, Steve, you've been accused of this before. Do you think Sam's just following along and picking whatever we pick because we're so intelligent?
No, I don't know Sam. I don't know Sam well enough to make that.
I can take a picture and send it to you.
Steve used to do that. Just so you know, Steve had always wanted to go last.
Steve still does it. Yeah, Steve still does it too. So I'm not an idiot.
That's why we start. That's why we start every number off with Steve. What's your number 9? But my number 9 would be the David Tyree helmet catch, which was a little bit of luck. But if he doesn't make that play, the Giants don't win the Super Bowl. It's also a clutch play by Eli Manning, because 9 out of 10 quarterbacks would have been sacked on that play. He breaks away from the defender, makes the throw downfield. Tyree catches the ball. My number 9 is David Tyree. Number 8, Sam?
Number 8, I have Kirk Gibson's walk-off home run versus the Oakland Athletics in the 1988 World Series. Big moment for them. Ended up being the long-term thing they needed, and a walk-off home run in the World Series is clutch regardless of when it is.
All right. Actually, I had that much higher. If you were older and would have saw it, you'd have had it higher too, Sam. Because it was
probably
an amazing moment. And I was actually cheering for the A's because back then, believe it or not, the Dodgers and Reds were heated rivals. So I always cheered against them. My number 8 is Joe Carter's walk-off home run, Game 6 of the 1993 World Series. The Blue Jays led the series 3-2. They played it at the old Sky Dome. Carter hits the home run with a runner on. They're down a run at the time. There's 2 outs. He's facing Mitch Wild Thing Williams, who was at the time the hottest closer in baseball. And without that home run, there'd have been a Game 7 there. So number 8 for me is Joe Carter, Steve.
Yeah, number 8 for me is Larry Bird steals the ball from Isaiah Thomas in the 1970 Eastern Conference Finals. And then passes the ball to DJ when it's pretty well, all they got to do is get the ball in bounds, and the Pistons go back to Boston with a 3-2 lead. And, Isaiah was struggling. The Celtics put on a great press. Bird was just working, got the ball, stole it right there right from Isaiah right in the bucket. EJ has enough wherewithal to cut right down the middle. Bird passes him the ball with a great pass, layup. Celtics go on to win that. And I believe they got back to the NBA championships that year, didn't they?
What year was that, 88?
87.
Yeah, 87, they went to the finals. They went back to Detroit, lost Game 6 to tie the series at 3, if I remember right. And then Boston beats Detroit in Game 7. And the reason I remember this game so well is this is back in the day where I lived in Indiana, so we didn't even have cable TV. So we had an antenna on the roof. And there was like some massive storms in southeastern Indiana that day. And I kept losing reception, and then you'd get, the little ziggly lines that go through it. And I remember watching that game, just hoping the power wouldn't go out. And I was actually cheering for the Pistons because I was a huge Isaiah fan because, he helped Steve Risley win the 1981 national championship. So
he helped Steve Risley get a ring. Yeah. I'm not sure Steve helped Isaiah too much.
Yeah, well, you didn't, but I was trying to be nice, so you ruined it.
Thank you.
As always. All right, but yeah, so I remember that game. They ended up, the Game 7 was a great game. I think Adrian Dantley had a huge game for the Pistons, but the Celtics ended up winning that. Number 7, Sam?
I have Pete, I'm trying to pronounce this guy's name right. Pardon me if I butcher it. Bandano, 1950 overtime Game 7 Stanley Cup Finals. I believe it was the first double overtime Game 7 or overtime Game 7 that was decided by a goal then. So, first really super clutch moment in NHL history. You're going to be surprised. This is actually the only hockey thing on here for me.
All right, and let's just go here. My number 7 is my only hockey moment also, which I used to be a Rangers fan. My number 7 is Mark Messier in 1994, because people talk a lot about Joe Namath, who did it for one game, and really his defense and his running game won him Super Bowl III. Mark Messier basically guaranteed that they were going to win Game 6, go back to Madison Square Garden and win Game 7. And this is at a point where the Rangers hadn't won it in 54 years. And Messier comes up huge in Game 6 in Jersey. And not only did he help them win the game, he actually scores a hat trick. They go on to win Game 7 at Madison Square Garden in one of the great series, I think, in NHL history. And then they go on to beat the Vancouver Canucks in 7 games. And yes, Lucas, I know you're listening. Vancouver's from Canada, and the Americans won again. So Mark Messier, to me, 1994 is my number 7, Steve.
Yeah, I think I did my number 7, wasn't it, Bird?
I don't know. Sure. All right, number 6, Sam.
David Tyree's helmet catch. I had it a little higher than you guys. I'm sure, like you guys, I was watching the game, but that was pretty ridiculous. It's very clutch on both Eli Manning and David Tyree, but a helmet catch like that with the defender on you, with the Super Bowl on the line, he doesn't catch that, the game's over. So I had to put that a little higher for him.
All right, number 6, Steve.
I had Reggie Miller's Game 6 against the Knicks, where he scores 8 points in 8.9 seconds.
That was Game 1.
Was it Game 1? Yeah, it was Game 1. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yes, it was Game 1. Game 6 on something else here on top of it. Yeah, Game 1, he comes in and drills in 8 points in 8.9 seconds. And managed to get a choke sign in on Spike Lee while he's doing it, too.
No, the choke sign was the year before in Game 5 when he scored 25 in the third quarter.
Okay, I'll see. I remember watching it at the Philadelphia airport because we were coming back from Bermuda from a Pfizer trip that we had won. And I was sitting at the airport with Dick Reggio, who was our senior vice president, who was from Philadelphia. It was kind of a fun few minutes, but that was my number 6, was Reggie's 8 points in 8.9 seconds against the Knicks in Game 1, without giving a choke sign to Spike Lee, which he had done the year before. Thank you for the corrections.
Well, it is true, and I just love that time in Pacer basketball because it's the only time we were really relevant was that 5 or 6 year period. But the thing I remember about the Game 1 was I had just met what would become my wife, and this would have been like a week into it, and the Pacers are playing the Knicks, and we had just gotten home from church with her parents, and her parents are there, and I turned the game on. And he scores like that. And I'm trying to not be a raving lunatic, which I would normally be as he was making those shots. And I just remember, I think my head almost exploded because I wanted to yell. And I couldn't because then these people that, would have thought I was nuts. But, I mean, then I got to know them and then they realized that I was nuts. So I should have just went ahead and yelled. My number 6 was Ted Williams. Ted Williams in 1941. Went into a season-ending doubleheader against the Philadelphia Athletics, coached by Connie Mack. Williams was batting .395.55, which would have rounded up to 400. This was a huge accomplishment even back then, and Red Sox manager Joe Cronin gave Williams the opportunity to sit out the final day. But Williams said he'd rather play and not be the guy who sat his way to hitting 400. He goes out that day, and in the doubleheader goes 6 for 8 to finish at 406. And to this day, and that was in 1941, he is the last major league player to hit 400. And I'm pretty sure if this was to happen today to anybody and they were sitting at 400, they'd sit the doubleheader out, Steve.
Yeah, sadly they would. But they probably also would be looking at a huge, hefty, multi-million-dollar bonus for hitting 400 too. So, money dictates decisions in this day and age. Back then, it was just pride and work ethic back then. So I agree with you entirely. They would sit out. They would not play.
All right.
They would call it a season.
Number 5, Steve.
Again, in no uncertain terms, because now you get into these top 5 where, you can pick anything. But I picked number 5. I picked the next one I picked was Jack Nicklaus's back 9 at the 1986 Masters. He goes into the back 9, I think, in third place behind, I believe, Ballesteros and Greg Norman, and shoots arguably the best round of back 9 at Augusta National. charges to the course after he hadn't won, I think, since '76, almost 10 years since he'd won a major, and comes in and I shot like a 29, I think, on the back nine, and blew right by everybody to win his 18th and final major at age 46, which made him the oldest major winner in golf at that point in time, which I believe he still is the oldest major winner. I don't know that Ray Floyd may have passed him, but I don't think he did. But I just think that was a clutch performance on the back nine from a legend who rose to the occasion and did what you expect your legends to do, because he was pretty much a legend at that time. But the next one I had was Jack Nicklaus's back nine at Augusta in 1986.
All right, Sam, what number are we at? 5?
Yep. And that was, yes.
I have the 1970 Game 7 NBA Finals, Jerry Mr. Clutch 60-footer. Granted, sending it to overtime. It didn't go so well for them in overtime, but still very clutch to keep it going there.
Is that clutch or is that luck, though?
To make that shot
luck.
under that pressure.
More luck.
There's no pressure, though, because if you miss, you just miss like a 60-footer. I don't think anybody expected you to make that, Sam.
And the Lakers end up losing the game anyway.
Yeah, come on, Sam.
Yeah, but it's the NBA Finals on the line. Like, you still have to make every shot, and not to mention that's definitely very clutch.
All right,
I had that
Sam.
on my list.
We'll give it to you. It's still better than picking golf. All right, my number 5.
I got another golf one coming up. So
I'm sure you do, because you don't believe in sports.
I would, if there was one thing you have to give golf, it's that there are clutch moments. So I'll actually give this one to
but
Steve
it's still not really a sport.
No, it's not. But still, he is right that at least if he was going to bring it into something, it would be this.
Yes, I agree, Sam. It's kind of like shooting a free throw, making a putt. All right, number 5 for me, the shot heard around the world. August 11th, 1951, the Dodgers led the Giants by 13.5 games. The Giants won 37 of the last 44 games, finished the season tied with the Dodgers, having come all the way back. And really, on the last day of that season, a lot of people don't realize this, but only a 14-inning victory over the Philadelphia Phillies even allowed the Dodgers to end up finishing a tie. Unlike today, instead of a one-game playoff, there was a best 2 of 3. The Giants entered the bottom of the 9th inning, down 4-1. Excuse me. The Giants score a run. They've got 2 outs, 2 on. Bobby Thompson's at the plate. He hits a 3-run home run to take the Giants to the 1951, I think it was 51. Was it 50 or 51? It was 51 World Series. But it's called the shot heard round the world, and it's one of those moments that I think is maybe the most iconic moment in baseball history. How many times have we heard that Russ Hodges call, Steve, since we've been alive?
In my 60 years I've heard it. It's one of the most famous calls. That and Havlicek stole the ball would be the other one. Well, those are 2 of the most famous calls of all time. That one and Havlicek stole the ball. So,
all right.
I agree with you there, Mike, big time.
What do you got at number 4, Steve?
I've got 1964 Miami Beach, Muhammad Ali, which was Cassius Clay's time to Sonny Liston. And I think this was clutch because Clay was he was known, but he wasn't Muhammad Ali yet. He wasn't Cassius Clay, wasn't himself, where he ended up becoming the greatest living athlete of all time. And he boasted and bragged all along. Liston was heavily favored in this fight. And I think the clutch performance was here that Ali came in, talked the talk, and he walked the walk and backed it up and just put Liston down in a hurry. And I think that started the lore and legend of Muhammad Ali right there. And I think that probably could, if I was going to rank them 1 to 10, I might put that one as number 1 because of what played off of that fight and what that did to put Ali not only on the map, but as the greatest athlete of all time.
All right. I disagree, but I'll let it go since it's boxing.
Thank you.
Sam, we got at number 4.
I got the shot heard round the world. very clutch. I agreed with just about everything you said on that one. I just had a little higher.
All right. That's all right. We'll forgive you on that one. Have I done my number 4 yet? Anybody know?
No, you have not.
All right.
You have not.
I'll do my number 4 then. My number 4, Kirk Gibson's home run, 1988 World Series. And people forget that 88 Dodgers team may have been, even over the 69 Mets, the biggest shock to win a World Series, because they played a New York Mets team in 1988 that was probably better than the Mets team that won the World Series in 1986. They beat them in 7 games behind Oral Hershiser pitching out of his mind. You get to the 1988 World Series, you got the Bash brothers with McGuire, Canseco. I mean, they were a loaded baseball team. Canseco hit, I think, a grand slam home run earlier in that game. And then you get, in essence, the ultimate childhood fantasy moment if you grew up wanting to be a baseball player. It's the World Series, the bottom of the 9th, 1 on, 2 outs, down by a run, playing at Chavez Ravine, Dodger Stadium, and Kirk Gibson waddles up with not 1 but 2 injured knees. He steps up to the plate, and he is not just facing a really good relief pitcher. They're facing Dennis Eckersley, who was the best reliever in baseball, who I think has since been put in a Hall of Fame. And at the end, he hits a home run. And he looked pathetic on his first 2 swings. And then I think it's a 2-2 or a 3-2 pitch. He hits it out of the ballpark. It's the only at-bat he had in that World Series. And from there, Hershiser wins Game 2. Mark McGuire hits a walk-off home run McGuire hit a walk-off home run in Game 4 to keep from being swept. And then Game 5, Oral Hershiser comes out, throws a masterpiece. They shut down the A's again and win the World Series. Let's go Steve, number 3.
My number 3, I know, Mike, you're going to give me crap about this. And again, I don't have really ranked from 10. But I definitely think that Reggie Jackson's performance in the 1977 World Series.
I'm not going to give you crap. That was an unbelievable performance.
3 home runs in 3 pitches off of 3 different pitchers against the Dodgers. I mean, you talk about just iconic. 3 pitches, 3 home runs off of 3 different Dodger pitchers.
And 3 different style of pitchers, because I think one of them was a knuckleballer. Yeah. You had the fastball pitcher. You had the breaking ball pitcher. So that's what makes it even more impressive.
It's as iconic to me. And while Gibson's was for a World Series win, this was just one of those moments you after the first one, then he drills the second one. Then you're all just sitting there with bated breath. And then he does it again for a 3rd time. And I don't know that there's ever been a single batting performance over the course of a game that would top that what he did that night. I believe it was, October 18th. And the Yankees went on to win the game 8-4. But I just think that's just one of the most iconic clutch performances, right up there with Gibson's home run in terms of baseball ever to happen.
All right, Sam, number 3.
I have Joe Montana's game-winning drive against the Cincinnati Bengals.
No, hey, we don't talk about that on here unless I bring it up. And I usually bring it up jokingly, Lucas.
Oh, but it's not funny for you.
No, it's not. I had nightmares about that game for at least 3 years after. And still sometimes I wake up in a cold sweat wondering what happened. And just sometimes in my dreams, the ball gets dropped. Or, Montana throws an interception, but it's only a dream.
Too bad.
Hey, Joe Montana got your Detroit Lions in 1983 with a last-second drive that ended in a field goal or a touchdown, and then you guys shanked a field goal with Eddie Murray, so you got that.
But I expect that from the Lions. I'm numb. I just expect them to do something.
Dude, you don't even know
like
what numb is until you've watched your team come within a couple points of winning the Super Bowl twice in the same decade, then you can have the same page. See, you don't expect anything. I grew up in my childhood expecting my teams could win. And then from 1990 on, all my teams just went in a tank. But at least I have experience.
But I expect my team to suck.
Yeah, I expect my teams to suck too, Sam. That's sad. It's a sad commentary on why we still cheer for our teams. Number 2, Steve.
My final two are basketball, but again, I have a list of about 30 more and maybe we should even, after we're done with this, just throw out some of the other ones we came up with that we didn't get in the top 10. But my number 2 was Magic Johnson's 42-point performance in Game 5 of the, I can't remember, what was I got so many notes here. What year did that happen?
1980 Game 6 at the Philadelphia Spectrum.
Game 6, yeah. Jabbar had gone out with an injury, and Johnson was a rookie. Comes in and says, I'll play center, fires the sky hook, scores 42 points, leads the Lakers over the Sixers, and just puts on a masterful clutch performance as a rookie before he had become Magic Johnson and Bird, part of that deal that saved the NBA. And that's my number 2 performance. Again, I don't say it's number 2. It's one of my top 10 that I recall. I remember watching that game when he jumped center, and he just took over the court and took over the game and established Magic Johnson as one of the 2 greatest players probably to ever play the game, along with Larry.
All right, Sam?
I have Maze's walk-off home run in Game 7 of the 1960 World Series.
You mean Mazeroski?
I believe. I couldn't pronounce his name right, so I just went with the shorter version, okay?
Yeah, but then it sounds like Willie Mays, Sam. Come on, you got to know who Bill Mazeroski is.
It's hard to pronounce his name.
No, it's not. It's Mazeroski.
You find that sometimes in hockey, too.
I could say it all day long. Mazeroski. Steve, say Mazeroski.
Mazeroski.
All right. See, Steve said it, so now you have to be able to say it, or you just sound like a moron. Say it. Say Mazeroski.
Mazeroski?
It's better, Sam. But go ahead.
Yeah, I just to hit a walk-off home run, Game 7 of the World Series, incredible pressure, and he just came in the clutch there, I thought, more than most of the other baseball moments we had, so that's why I put it so high.
It's Game 7 of the World Series. It's my number 3 also. The thing that was amazing about that World Series, the New York Yankees actually outscored the Pittsburgh Pirates by a total of 55-27. And the Pirates won the series. I think what it was is every Yankee win was by double digits. Every Pirates win was by a run. Mazeroski is a guy who only had 11 regular season home runs in 1960. And he hits a game-winning home run, a walk-off. I mean, this is basically what Joe Carter did if Joe Carter would have done it Game 7. But the thing that makes it even more iconic is from 1924 until about 1964, the New York Yankees owned the World Series. The Pittsburgh Pirates hadn't been to the World Series in 30 years. And they come out, they upset the Yankees, and Mazeroski hits the home run, and he was one of the greatest defensive second basemen that ever lived. He only had a lifetime batting average of 260. So a lot of people say he doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. It's kind of like Joe Namath. Joe Namath got in the Hall of Fame because of the prediction and the upset and how iconic Super Bowl III was. I think Bill Mazeroski, you could say the same thing about, Steve.
Yeah.
All right, Steve, what do you got at number 2?
Oh, didn't I do number 2? Wasn't that? I was Bird. Or Johnson's 42 points.
Oh, was that number 2? Steve, Sam, did you do your number 2?
Yeah, that's what I just did.
Oh,
that's
well,
what
cool.
That was.
That's good because I get 11 then. My number 2.
I can take 11 too.
Well, yeah. My top 2 to me are hands down the top 2. And number 2 would be Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens, 1936 Summer Olympics. The 1936 Summer Olympics were held in Berlin, which was Adolf Hitler, and of course, his superior Aryan race. And Owens crashed that party, achieved international fame by winning 4 gold medals in the 100 meters, the 200 meters, the long jump, and as a part of the 4x100 meter relay team. Owens' achievements in Germany in 1936 are more than athletic achievements, though, to me, because they meant a lot to the United States of America. You're getting to the part where now, Germany is starting to ramp up towards World War II, where they eventually go into Poland, Czechoslovakia. And I think that Jesse Owens and Joe Louis were the reason that you see 11 years later in 1947, Jackie Robinson goes and plays for the Dodgers. And I think, suffice it to say, also, Jesse Owens demonstrated, even though this country was very racist at that time, that you still had an opportunity to achieve something as an American that you wouldn't in Germany, because in Germany, unless you were a certain type of German, you would have never even have been allowed to participate in these Olympics. So I think that it really showed America really was a land of opportunity for all of its citizens. And I think in the end, that's what makes this performance huge, because if Jesse Owens goes and is terrible and loses all these races, I mean, it would have given Adolf Hitler an even bigger platform. Instead, Jesse Owens goes and basically takes away Adolf Hitler's platform. But, Steve, what do you got at number one?
Well, if you get two, then I get two at number one.
No, see, this is the problem. I mean, that's not the way it works, Steve. What's your number one?
I have a tie.
Come on. All right, what's your tie?
Tie, really?
Jeez.
Yeah, I do. The first of my two ties is, and I'm going to catch crap for this, I know, from Mike, but I think it's Michael Jordan's 38-point performance against the Utah Jazz.
Was he sick? Did he have a fever? Jeez.
Well, there's theory on that. Now, they claim that he had a fever of triple digits.
Yeah, he had a temperature of 178. Go ahead.
He comes in and he had been sick allegedly all night. The theory is that he was out partying all night and was hungover as hell. That's one of the conspiracy theories in that story. But we're going to take it for what it's worth. To throw in 38 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, including the game-winning three-pointer with less than a minute to go.
It was a two-pointer, and he pushed off on Byron Russell.
Yeah, well, again, they have down it was a three-pointer.
Okay.
In the records I looked at, so
because it was a 17
they could be wrong. I mean, historians have been known to be wrong, and you're usually right. So you could be right whether it's 2 or 3. It's immaterial. It was a game-winning shot, less than a minute to go, to propel the Bulls over Utah. And the thing there was allegedly, and the thing was the game was on the road, so it wasn't like he was sleeping in his bed, getting hydrated, getting treatment with his own doctors, and he was on the road in a hotel room.
I'm sure they had their own doctors.
Well, they had but they had their own team.
And I'm
doctors,
sure the
correct,
hotel was really, really nice.
Probably not as nice as his $20 million pad in Chicago, which he was living in at the time.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I had that as one of the top ones. You want my other one too?
Sure.
While I'm giving it. The other one I thought was just iconic was Don Larsen's perfect game in the '56 World Series for the Yankees. It's the first time the perfect game had been thrown in 34 years. Only one of 23 perfect games in LB history. And it remains, I think, the only perfect game ever thrown in the World Series, if I'm correct. I think that's an iconic play, just a clutch performance. The Yankees went on to beat the Brooklyn Dodgers in that World Series for one of many that they won. But that's one of a kind. That's a unique event that happened, and nobody's done it before, after, or since, I believe. There's not been another perfect game thrown in the World Series. So I had those two as the most iconic to me. And Jordan's could fall anywhere in there, but I think Larsen's perfect game in the World Series is just an iconic moment in sports because it's never been duplicated.
Uh-huh. All right. So you think it's more iconic than Jesse Owens?
No, I had Jesse Owens on there too, and that's why I said to get to 10. And I definitely had Jesse Owens written down there. And I think the social value of Jesse Owens was probably greater than the athletic value, because to do that in front of Hitler, and then, as you said, to create openings between him and Lewis, create openings for Robinson and other players to come in. But in that case, while it was no small feat to go to Berlin and to win 4 gold medals in track and field against his Aryan race, and he shut Hitler down because Hitler saw them all. But the social value to what Jesse Owens did is as big an event as Don Larson being the only pitcher ever to pitch a perfect game in the World Series.
Oh,
they both are iconic and would be at the top of anybody's list. They would have to be.
All right. I don't think it's anywhere close to iconic like Jesse Owens. And I don't think that there's ever been an athlete to face the pressure of a Jesse Owens or a Joe Louis. But number one,
Well,
Sam.
Possibly a Robinson, you know. I mean, he faced it.
Yeah, but that's kind of a
Being
whole
the-
season. That's he was clutch for the whole year. But the
whole
thing is
year,
this. The case can be made that without Joe Louis and Jesse Owens, Jackie Robinson would have been somebody else, and it would have happened maybe in 1957 instead of 1947.
47. Right.
So, Sam,
Thank
number
Branch
one.
Rickey for having the balls to do that.
All right.
Hold it, though. Fun fact about the whole Jesse Owens thing that you guys didn't mention. The Hitler would only shake his athletes after they would win. And after Jesse Owens started winning, the Olympics said that Hitler had to shake all of the athletes' hands or none of them. And he got so shut down by Jesse Owens, he ended up shaking absolutely no athletes' hands after that.
Yeah, that's my point. So I'm here basically to teach you guys the difference between clutch and somebody that's even beyond clutch. Jesse Owens was beyond clutch. My number one is Joe Louis beating Max Schmeling in their second fight because that is beyond clutch. I mean, that was Max Schmeling had upset a young Joe Louis in 1936, and 2 years later he fights Max Schmeling. Max Schmeling is a guy who was not a Nazi. He was portrayed that way, but he did allow what the Nazis do to happen. You had actresses like Marlene Dietrich that came to this country and told everybody what Hitler was doing. Max Schmeling, before this fight, when they asked Max how everything was in Germany, he said it was great. So Joe Louis, the thing about Joe Louis is this. He is really the first African-American athlete that pretty much all of white America cheered for. And this is in 1938. This is 26 years before you even have the Civil Rights Act come into play. And Joe Louis had Americans cheering. He had all of America cheering for him. And he fights the German, and this is a little over 2 years before the bombing of Pearl Harbor. And he knocks out Max Schmeling, damn near kills him, literally, in the ring in one round. I don't think there has ever been an athlete outside of Jesse Owens that has ever faced this kind of pressure, because if Joe Louis loses to the German in Yankee Stadium in the Bronx, I mean, that is a demoralizing feature for all of black America and really for America as a whole if the German comes over and wins, because then what's going to happen is that German's going to go back to Germany and they're going to hold the heavyweight championship of the world ransom. He's not going to come back over here. He's not going to fight another American. And what people don't realize today is the most important person in sports up until probably up until this century was whoever the heavyweight champion of the world was. And the heavyweight champion of the world was seen as the baddest man on the planet. You definitely don't want that to be Max Schmeling at that point in 1938. I don't think there's ever been the pressure on an athlete for one night that there was on Joe Louis. And he came out and he not only performed, he got it done in about a minute and a half, and he got it done very violently. So to me, Joe Louis and Jesse Owens, I think, faced the most pressure of anybody ever, because this isn't just about Michael Jordan taking a 20-foot jump shot to win Game 6 of the NBA Finals. This was about a lot more than that. You know, this is not Joe Carter or Christian Laettner and just taking one shot to go to the Final Four or to win a national championship. This is about representing your entire race collectively, your entire country collectively, and you have all of that on your back. And when you look at that, I don't think there could be any two more clutch moments or iconic moments in sports history. So, Sam, what's your number one?
My number one is actually Tom Brady in Super Bowl 51 second half.
Yeah, that's a lot more clutch than Max
Schmeling
Schmeling knocking out a Nazi, isn't it? Or Joe Louis knocking out a Nazi. Come on. You should have changed your number one to what my number one was, just to show your intelligence, Sam.
I don't really wimp out of that kind of stuff. Sorry.
But you did wimp out to that stuff.
What was Sam's number one? I was reading something else.
It was Tom Brady, marrying Giselle Bundchen, I think. I don't know. What was it, Sam?
That was pretty clutch.
Super Bowl 51 second half.
That was pretty clutch. I don't know that I'm not going to side with Sam on that one. The guy marries the most beautiful woman in the world. She makes 4 times the money he does. Gives him 3 perfect kids. That's pretty clutch. But not in the realm of
I don't think she's the most beautiful woman in the world either, Sam.
You know what the worst part of that is? Both of you just called that a sport.
Called what a sport?
Marrying Giselle Bundchen, because this is under sports category, and you just
I didn't say that. I just said that's what I heard, because you lost me when that was the most clutch moment. But my thing is this, and the reason I didn't put Elway and them higher is because, let's face it, the Tom Brady thing was clutch, but it also had an Atlanta coaching staff that was completely incompetent and a bunch of guys for the Patriots making a bunch of plays. That's why when I rated these guys, Elway's drive against Cleveland, Montana's drive had others help, but just for that one moment against 2 really good defenses, they got it done. I think yours is like a conglomeration of mess-ups on one end and Tom Brady's greatness on the other.
Yeah, Mike, let me ask you a question. When does clutch become expected performance?
Well, this is the thing. Clutch becomes expected performance when you are Tom Brady, John Elway,
right.
Joe Montana. And that's the other thing, Sam. We watched all their careers for all 3 of these guys.
Jordan.
So to me, I don't care about Jordan, but to me,
I know you didn't, yeah.
To me, I expect Tom Brady to be clutch. So it's not that big a deal to me when he is, because it would only shock me if he wasn't clutch.
Right. And, you say about Bird and Johnson, guys that stepped up and did it more times than they failed.
Yeah, I mean, if Larry Bird's taking a game-winning shot, he's going to make it.
You expect him to make it.
Yeah.
You're disappointed when he does. You're not excited when he does.
Yeah, I expect Jordan to make it.
Yeah, I expect Jordan to make the play every time. We came to that, and therefore it loses its clutchness, and it becomes expectations.
How about this?
So
and I'll go with Sam first. Sam, if you're playing in the conference championship game, you get the Super Bowl, and you have to make that drive. And we had this conversation a little bit earlier, Steve. When you think about this, is it not more clutch to do it in the game before the Super Bowl? Because the game before the Super Bowl to get to the Super Bowl is even that much more magnified, I think, than even the Super Bowl. Because at least if you lose in the Super Bowl, you made it there. If you come up short of the Super Bowl, you get what I'm saying?
I don't agree at all. It's all or nothing like that.
I hate to tell you this, but this wasn't an agree or a disagree. I was looking for your opinion. I was looking for your opinion. I didn't say that I thought either. I was asking for an opinion. See, Sam's so hung up on trying to, outdo us, Steve, that he doesn't even listen to the question.
He's 17 years old. He's young. They guys think they know everything.
Well, Sam,
They'll grow up.
The reason we have you on this show is between me and Sam, or me and, what's your name? Steve. We're an average age of 55. But whenever we have you on this show, it drops the average age to us people on the show to like 34. And it makes us feel younger.
See, you do
That's
provide.
That's kind of weird.
Well, it makes Steve feel better because Steve's really, really old.
Steve feels very fine being 60 years old. I have no problem with it at all.
Hey, I'll be old one day too.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what. You keep getting mouthy with me, Sam. We'll see about that. Listen. Sam just got the joke. But at Lucas Weiss thinks that no Tom Brady in the top 10 question marks. I think this. I think there are so many top 10s here. The reason I went the way I did with mine is because I think the Owens and Lewis thing really get overlooked as being clutch, and they were more than just a game. I think this, for all you Kentucky fans out there, Christian Laettner, college basketball-wise, he would be my number one. Who was the kid that hit the shot for Villanova to beat North Carolina 3 years ago? Or 4 years ago. Remember the great national championship game, Villanova, North Carolina, Steve? I can't remember his name right now.
Yeah, I do. I can't remember his shot.
Keith Smart, 1987, hits the shot to win it all. Chris Jenkins. I remember it was Chris Jenkins for Villanova. Thank you, Lucas. But yeah, when you see that, and we've seen Christian Laettner did it more than just against Duke. You know, Christian Laettner made a habit. Christian Laettner was a guy who, kind of like Tom Brady and Larry Bird, you just kind of expect them to get it done when it comes down to it.
And Mike, you alluded to this kind of earlier in the conversation. One shot, I think, becomes as much luck as it does clutch. Clutch is rising to the occasion and influencing a game with a single performance throughout the game. West shot, Laettner shot, Smart shot.
Wait a second. I don't think
they were great shots.
No, wait, though. The Keith Smart shot, Christian Laettner shot, one's to go to the Final Four, one's to go to the national championship. You have to hit it or you
win
lose.
The national championship.
With Jerry West, well, with Laettner it was to go to the Final Four, but with Jerry West, that's a 60-footer. They lost the game anyways, so if they win the game, I would think about it differently. But
yeah, I mean, I put more stock on Elway's drive or Montana's drive than I do any of those shots, because they had to make a clutch performance for the span of 98 yards, or I don't know how long Montana's drive was to Clark. I don't think it was 98 yards. I think the 98-yard one's the longest drive ever to win a game. But I think those, you have to repeat yourself more and more and more over just hitting one great shot. They're clutch shots to hit.
But also, this is the thing. To me, the reason we did the show the way we did is because that is a bigger deal that you can make that shot. Because, like I said, a lot of people got to help you do the other stuff. I mean, come on, let's face it. If Mark Cooper, who's the guard for the Denver Broncos, misses a block during the drive, and it's like, Sam, the Super Bowl a couple years ago, the Eagles hit Brady, sack him, and he fumbles. That's the only reason they stopped him. So if that guard for the Patriots makes the block, come on, Brady probably goes down, ties that game up, and they win that Super Bowl too.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. You take somebody like Reggie Jackson, 3 home runs against the Dodgers, 3 pitches, 3 different pitchers. That's clutch. I mean, that's doing it time and time again.
Bill Mazeroski, Game 7. Kirk Gibson, Game 1. There's so many moments here where people did something special.
I have another 20 that I can discuss.
Good, Sam.
Is that there's just too many. There's too many clutch performances to make a top 10 for this is absolute kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But what I was looking forward to, what was going to make it fun, was I knew that we all have different sports that we enjoy more than others, and we all probably had our picks are probably biased toward the sports we enjoy watching the most. Like I like golf, and I mean I didn't even mention.
Well, mine were. I think this. I think when you come to clutch moments, it's always going to come down to baseball. I mean, you've always got.
That's the biggest theater for it. Sure.
Yeah, because it's one-on-one. And I can tell you this. I've been to World Series, Super Bowls, National League Championship Series, AFC Championship games. There is nothing more intense than if you really like I'm a huge Reds fan. I have been since I grew up, or since I was born. And 1990, to sit in there during Game 6 at a National League Championship Series, it's 2-1, ninth inning, you go to the World Series if you win. I also was at the 88 AFC Championship game where the Bengals beat the Bills. And I can tell you this, I mean, the collective tension was so much bigger during the baseball playoffs than it was during the NFL playoffs, because on any pitch, that could be the pitch. You don't know when it's coming. Football, baseball, you could come out and score 6 runs in the first inning and you got a really good pitcher. That game's over right then. Football, we've seen Tom Brady down 28-3. We saw Frank Reich and the Bills down 35-3. You still have time to come back. But in baseball or hockey, if you come out and Bobrovsky is playing out of his mind, you may not get a chance to score. You may outplay the other team. We saw Game 7 of the NHL playoffs the other night. We saw a goalie in Dallas who basically, even though his team was completely and utterly outplayed, still almost single-handedly won the game for his team, Sam.
Well, this I somewhat agree and somewhat disagree. This is why I didn't have as many NHL teams on here or players, is because we were talking about individual players and moments that were clutch. I think hockey is slightly more a team sport than many because you have
I think football
is
too. That's why we really don't get much football-wise.
Yeah, honestly, if you wanted to go like in order, I'd probably have it like baseball, maybe then basketball, and then have football and hockey at the last there. That's why I don't have as much hockey on
because baseball is a team sport, but the essence of it is one-on-one. It's the pitcher against the hitter.
Mike, the other thing I like about baseball, too, is it's one of the few sports, the major league sports, it's not timed. Football, basketball, and hockey are all timed sports. You have a certain amount of time to get your job done. Baseball, and I'd love to see a statistic on the number of Major League Baseball games that have been won with 2 out in the bottom of the ninth.
Oh, there's a lot. And I mean, the thing is this. I can
it's
tell you this. That's
sport,
great
so
to have an untimed sport. But when the Reds are playing in Oakland and the game's in the 13th inning and it's 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm trying to stay awake so I know if they win or not, that's not a good thing.
But the essence of the game, it's just pure. You don't have a time limit here. You just got to play until the game's decided by the number of innings. So, but those innings could, like you said, stretch till 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and they've done that before. But that's an interesting statistic to look for: is how many games in the history of baseball, Major League Baseball, have been won with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. I'm sure Lucas probably has that number. He's probably got it right.
Lucas don't, but he might be looking it up right now. But
he may be looking it up too. Yeah.
I think it's funny that Lucas can comment on this the whole time, but never be on the show.
Ooh, I like that. Oh, Lucas, did you hear that? That's because Lucas
He probably did. He pisses me in the comments anyway. So
yeah. So this is the thing. We did have Lucas on yesterday. If you listened to the show, so Lucas.
Yeah, well, here's the other thing, Sam. I put a call into Lucas earlier in the week and invited him to be on today, and he never even had the decency to get back to me. He said, "I'll have to check my schedule and see if I can get back to you."
He was on the show yesterday.
This never even called me back and said, "Yes, I can," or "Steve, no, my schedule's too busy." Lack of respect. But that's how Canadians are. So
that's why Steve doesn't like hockey.
I made a special call. We hung up from Mike and said, "Hey, let's try and get Lucas on Friday. He does great at these shows. He enjoys these shows." Comes on unannounced to me yesterday, and then turns around today after I'd invited him on today. Doesn't even bother to return the call and say he can or can't make it.
He was working.
Lucas, dude. Well, all he had to do was text me back.
All I know is this.
I can't make
Lucas, you picked a topic and Sam has challenged you to a top 10 list. So on the day Lucas wants to do it, Lucas lets us know a day or two ahead of time, and then we will have everybody together. Because it seems to me like Sam's just a fan of Lucas and wants to be on
later or not. But I will return the call and let him know that I can't make it.
You know what, though, Steve? It sounds like Sam's a fan of Lucas's, though, and really just yearns to be on the same show as him.
I was a fan of Lucas's until.
Hey, another hockey fan. That doesn't hurt me.
There you go.
No.
Maybe we could do the top 10 hockey moments and watch Steve struggle.
Yeah, I would struggle that way. But although I have to tell you, I have watched more hockey in the last 2 weeks than I have watched my entire life, and I'm actually really enjoying the game. I'm starting to figure it out a little bit. I thought last night was, the power plays killed Carolina, and for Boston to score 3 goals, I think, in the third period and take control of that game. It was awesome to watch. The team just come alive and take advantage of the weaknesses of the team by getting cheap penalties. So I'm learning the game. I'm not nearly at the level you guys are, but I'm learning. I'm trying. I'm making an effort.
All right.
Which
That's
is more
all
than
that
I can
matters.
say about Mike and golf.
Well, because this is the thing. It's really boring to watch golf, and it's not boring to
I
watch
don't watch
hockey.
golf. Yeah. Unless
Nobody
Tiger's
watches.
playing, I do not watch golf.
There you go. So I don't want to hear you bring it up anymore because that
I
is
will not.
obviously
I will not.
All right.
But that was one of my ones I left off too. Was 2008 Tiger winning his second to the last major that he ever won, the U.S. Open at Torrey Pines, playing the last 18 holes with a broken leg, forcing an overtime.
Broken leg.
Well, no, he did. He had a fracture in his nose. He had a fracture in his leg.
Well, how about this? Jack Youngblood played 3 playoff games in the Super Bowl in 1969 with a broken
Yeah, but
leg.
Jack Youngblood's a football player. He's tough.
Yeah. Well, hey,
he's tough.
you know what? All I know is this. You didn't bring up – why didn't you bring up Barry Bonds as breaking Hank Aaron's record then for home runs?
Because of steroids.
All right. So why would you bring up Tiger Woods? Because he did steroids too.
I know. That's why I didn't bring it up.
All right.
Because I knew that you would diss it for those reasons, justifiably, most likely to some degree. Although I think at that point in time, PGA was not testing for steroids. I believe they are now, but I believe at that point in time.
So if they're not
it may not have
testing
been
for it,
actually
it's all right to
illegal.
use it. Because wait a second. It was
I
illegal.
believe it wasn't illegal.
Yes, it was.
Was it a banned substance in the PGA at that
Steve,
point in time?
it was a federal crime since 1946. So I would say that it was against the rules.
Okay. All right.
You don't have to.
Correct.
You know what? The NFL doesn't have to write into a player's contract that murder's illegal because it's already a federal crime.
Point well taken.
All
no
right.
problem.
There we go. See, Sam, that's how you shut down Risley. You just got to have some facts.
That's sports in general.
Oh, Sam's taking shots at you now, Steve.
That's all right. Everybody else does. Join the crowd.
All right.
I got big shoulders.
Steve's numb.
Oh, yeah.
He's very numb to it.
Bobby's listening to it, and he said the PGA to this day still doesn't test for him.
There you go.
So, there you go, Steve. You get back on the PGA Tour.
So, how is it then? I mean, how are you caught if they're not testing for it?
They're not catching them. They're not catching them. And there was a study
the
done.
federal government doesn't test you for steroids.
There was a study done. They're still illegal though. But there was a study done in 2008, or a poll done of PGA Tours or PGA Tour pros, and actually the number that they got back from polling them was that PGA Tours as a whole thought that up to a third of the entire field of golfers in the U.S. Open that year were using illegal substances.
I'm sure they were. I mean, they'll take every advantage they can get. That's why you're pounding the ball 375 yards off the tee. You're getting club head speeds that are unheard of in this day and age. And, yeah, there's no doubt that it's a combination of training and athleticism and stretching and steroids.
Yeah. Plus the
There's
fact
no doubt
that
about
Tiger
it.
Woods looked like a 15-year-old in 2004,
right.
and then he looked like a grown-ass man 3 years later and gained like 30 pounds.
I mean, Rory McIlroy's – look at Rory McIlroy's physique now. He's the same way. I mean, there's a lot of players you can point to that when they first came out and started developing themselves as a talent on the tour were scrawny little kids, and now they're massive beasts.
All right. The other thing I wanted to bring up is, Sam, you can't write a conference preview article after the conference preview or the conference finals have already started.
I hadn't actually watched the game, but yeah, I was like, hold it, I got to do this. And then I was like,
well, what we'll do is we'll turn this into tomorrow morning. I'll just edit it down so it's a St. Louis Blues, San Jose Shark preview. How about that?
That works, yeah, because I wrote that completely before. So
all right,
I
guys.
wrote the other one during.
All right, we are going to go ahead and wrap the show up for today. We'll be back Monday
fun
at
show.
noon. What? It's always a fun
show.
Yeah. All right,
And
guys.
again, I have about
hey,
25
also,
more
real quick,
that
Steve,
we
if
can
you
cover.
want to watch something
Yeah.
interesting, same thing with you, Sam. If you want to watch something interesting about the steroids, have you ever seen Icarus?
Yes, I have. That is scary.
Yeah. Watch Icarus on Netflix.
Scary as hell what the Russians do. Yeah.
Well, it's not just the Russians because it's basically anybody can do that and get
doping.
away with it. Yeah.
But it was all run pretty much through the Russian testing facilities.
Yeah.
I mean, the blatantness of which they were cheating was unbelievable.
Yeah. But watch Icarus on Netflix, Sam. It's a very interesting
documentary. The one guy, well, I'm not going to spoil it for you because it is a documentary done by a cyclist and a scientist, and they test it all, and they prove it, and it's ultimately very scary. And you wonder why the Russians were banned. They should be banned for life, because I believe they're still doing it now.
Ah, that's all right, though, because everybody else is too, probably. All right.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
We're going to go ahead and wrap the show up. I want to remind everybody, me and Bobby will be back in about an hour for the Sheridan Report. Me and Steve will be back Monday. Sam will be back sometime next week. We'll see. Steve may still be hurt with all the...
He's not hurt.
With all the personal insults that Sam threw at him today.
Hey, how many times have I said?
I'm not the only one.
I didn't personally insult him. I just told the truth. Go ahead.
I believe in what Dale Earnhardt says. I don't care if you're booing me or cheering me, as long as you're making noise about me, you know I'm here.
Yeah, he's dead. You know that, right,
That's
Steve?
That's true.
Okay,
That's
dead.
That's because he hit a wall going 200 miles an hour, not because
he wasn't worried about
verbally
when he was supposed to turn, I guess. All right, guys, we're going to wrap the show up.
About the equipment he was using. So.
All right. We are going to wrap it up. Remember, you can hear all of our shows on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, TuneIn, Spreaker, Stitcher. Make sure you go to iTunes, download the Grueling Truth app. You can also hear us on Zeno Radio. So make sure you check all that out. We're going to wrap it up for today. For Sam McGinnis, Steve Risley, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.